Welcome, everyone, to this YouTube exclusive video for the PFF Fantasy Podcast. I'm John Macri, and I will be going over 6 rookies that are primed to break out in year one. Obviously, the path to playing time isn't always there for first-year players, but based on draft capital, landing spot, and talent, these are the rookies who I think will make the greatest impact for our fantasy rosters in 2025. Now, obviously, some of these are going to be obvious names that we'll no doubt already be in on. And I think the main takeaways here should be that while they are obvious picks, because they're round one players, some of them, not every round one player is expected to have the same level of production. So yeah, there will be some obvious names, but there's also no way we can make a list like this and not include certain players, with one of those very obvious names being running back Ashton Genty, now of the Las Vegas Raiders. So Genty is comfortably the 101 in rookie drafts this year, with the expectation that he is going to dominate touches in the Raiders backfield immediately. He is currently being drafted as RB4 on Underdog as the 108, and everything we know about his profile coming out of college and the potential workload in Vegas says that he is fully capable of returning that value and potentially more. Remembering that Genty broke PFF records in college, he earned a 99.9 rushing grade thanks to his 3 straight seasons of at least a 90.0 rushing grade, which culminated in 2024 for a nation-leading 96.6 rushing grade on the year. As you can see on the screen right now, he dominated across the board in all the key running back metrics coming out. We don't always get top 10 NFL draft capital for running backs either, but Genty earned that investment in him. And considering the other options in the Raiders backfield as well, where the primary backup is a 33-year-old Raheem Mostert, Genty should be on the field a lot in all situations every single week. Now, obviously, the Raiders offense cannot really be considered like a high-powered unit, but plenty of high-end running backs make up for that through volume alone, including, if you look at 2022, the 2022 version of the Raiders, their running back and the PPR RB3 on that season, Josh Jacobs, who was fed a ton of touches in also a below-average offense with an average offensive line. So Genty really should have no problem finding similarly elite fantasy success as a rookie in a similar situation. And considering the talent, a top 3 finish is well within reach for him in 2025. Next up, we're going to the wide receiver position and expecting big things from Travis Hunter, who the Jaguars traded up to the number 2 overall pick to select, which only heightened expectations for him in year one, in my opinion. Hunter is one of the most, if not the most, unique prospect we've ever seen coming out of college, and absolutely has the opportunity to live up to his generational moniker, like if he can thrive on both sides of the ball, as is the expectation as the 2nd overall pick, right? So Hunter expected to primarily play wide receiver first, which is great news for his fantasy potential, as he should have, or should be a focal point in Liam Cohen's offense whenever he is on the field. And I know that some of the concern is that he won't see a high-end workload like most elite fantasy wide receivers, but even if the team were to give him just a 75% route share, the design touches that Hunter will command based on his talent should allow for what I'd project at least a 25% target rate, which could mean around 6 to 7 targets per game on average. That would put him at over 100 targets as a rookie on the safe side with that limited route share. So Jaguars also released Gabe Davis a couple weeks ago. So really just kind of the piece of the pie for Hunter getting slightly bigger in the passing game. You also consider that Trevor Lawrence should also be expected to take a step forward this year with Cohen running the offense. And then now 2 legitimate stars at wide receiver with Travis Hunter and Brian Thomas Jr. So the hope and the belief will be that if this offense as a whole operates at a higher level, which will hopefully create more scoring opportunities for both Hunter and Brian Thomas Jr. to coexist as high-end fantasy options. So Hunter is going as the wide receiver 24 right now on Underdog, so around the 4th round. And if all things I just touched on come together for him this season, he can absolutely outperform that ADP for his position as a rookie. All right, another rookie wide receiver selected in the top 10 of the NFL draft, and another one going in round 4 on Underdog, just ahead of Travis Hunter. That's Tetro McMillan of the Carolina Panthers. McMillan is Definitely the safer bet among him and Hunter in year one, though I'm still personally a believer in the like slightly higher upside for Hunter. That being said, there's also a lot to like about T Mac, especially considering that the Panthers were in dire need of a wide receiver one who could be paired with Bryce Young for the foreseeable future. And grabbing McMillan eighth overall in the NFL draft really helped seal that deal for 2025 and beyond, right? So he comes out of college with really encouraging numbers, averaging over 100 receiving yards per game at Arizona in each of his past two seasons, leading to an 89.5 career receiving grade. So he'll join Adam Thielen, Xavier Legette, Jalen Coker as kind of the other top wide receiver candidates, but McMillan, he has the edge across the board in age, draft capital, and I'd say current talent over all three, leaving little question about where he should be considered in the pecking order. The passing game also probably has more potential than it once did, as Bryce Young's resurgence in the latter half of last season resulted in him being a top five graded passer with an 85.7 coming out of the team's week 11 bye week and until the end of the season, which is a big upgrade from the first year and a half when he managed just a 52.7 passing grade. So expect McMillan to be the prime beneficiary of a potential breakout season for Bryce Young in 2025, and it would hopefully help carry T Mac to the same kind of potential and an easier bet within the top 24 wide receivers in ADP right now. All right, shifting back to the running back position, Omaran Hampton, he received first round draft capital from the Los Angeles Chargers as the clear RB2 in this rookie class. And I think a clear RB2 type for fantasy in 2025 as well. Getting, first round draft capital is always going to be a big help in him getting on the field early and often in a player's NFL career. And for Hampton, landing on an offense that ranked top 10 in run rate last season at 40.1% should only help his cause. We know Greg Roman's offensive philosophy has always stemmed from a run heavy approach, and spending an early pick on a top tier running back like Hampton is only going to further support that philosophy. So Hampton's coming off his second straight 100 plus rushing yards per game season at North Carolina, delivering the second most rushing yards after contact in the entire FBS behind only Ashton Genty. Now, I know Hampton, he does share a backfield with Najee Harris right now, though, considering the small 1 year investment in Harris, there isn't that much concern that Hampton will cede the feature back role to Harris, even as a rookie, right? And just because Hampton's path to snaps or touches isn't as wide open as it was with Ashton Genty, considering how often the Chargers are going to run the ball this season, he won't be too far behind in how often he'll get his opportunities. So even in the red zone last year, the Chargers were above average in run rate. Same thing with goal to go situations. Hampton should be the prime beneficiary of all of that. So he'll push for RB1 potential in year one, and he's currently being drafted as RB15 on underdog, which makes sense. At the very least, he should be a very comfortable RB2 for fantasy purposes. And I think a bet worth making to potentially jump a couple other running backs going ahead of him. Okay, the last running back on this list is the great RJ Harvey out of UCF. Now, of the Denver Broncos, he's being drafted as RB17 on underdog at the moment as a fifth round pick. So Harvey comes out of UCF with a pretty impressive collection of both rushing and receiving metrics for his college career, which includes a 91st percentile career rushing grade and 76th percentile career yards per route run. So he saw a lot of work as a receiving back at UCF, averaging 20 receptions per season and over 200 receiving yards per year on top of his nearly 3,000 rushing yards since 2023. So that receiving profile is going to be a big key for his potential success in Denver, with the Broncos spending a second round pick on him. Obviously, he's set up to be probably the best bet to lead Sean Payton's backfield in touches, and that includes a likely significant role as a receiver. So since Sean Payton took over in Denver in 2023, the Broncos have accumulated the most receptions from the running back position with 214, which is consistent with his time with the New Orleans Saints as well, Sean Payton, as his backfield accounted for 1,074 receptions from 2013 to 2021. That was the most in the entire league over that span. You consider Harvey's strong rushing numbers and experience as a receiver, he should get more than enough looks on both early downs and passing downs to be a consistent fantasy option in 2025. And look, if he locks down a true workhorse role by dominating the early down snaps as well, like he could definitely outperform his ADP as a rookie. Okay, another second round pick to close things out here, and a little further off the beaten path compared to the rest, and one that stood out to me was Ole Miss turned Los Angeles Chargers wide receiver Trey Harris, our second LA Charger on the list. Will this be the year? But I love Harris and his potential with Justin Herbert in LA. This is a guy who played just 8 games in 2024. And he still posted 1,030 receiving yards on an unreal 5.12 yards per route run. Now, part of Harris's production can be explained by Lane Kiffin's vertical passing attack, as Harris tied for the most career 20-plus yard receptions with 35 in this entire class. But helping his case for year one is that Harris can still be effective on those deep passes in the NFL as well, right? Since Justin Herbert, you look at him last year, he ranked third in deep pass attempts last season with 75. He tied for second in big time throws with 24, and he earned a 92.4 passing grade on those passes of 20 plus yards, of which Harris can now be the prime beneficiary. So, and this isn't to say that Harris is just a deep threat either, because he has consistently found ways to be productive for his entire career. He's earned 256 targets on passes with an average depth of target below 20 yards, which was the 13th most out of 47 prospects in this year's class. So on those passes, Harris earned an 8.82 yards per route run. That was a top 5 mark, and as was his 89.8 receiving grade on those sub 20 ADOT passes. So Harris offers, I think, the potential to be really the perfect complement to Ladd McConkey in Justin Herbert's passing offense to have a really great rookie season. So he's currently going as the wide receiver 53 in the 9th round of fantasy drafts, after fellow rookies Emeka Egbuka and Luther Burden, by the way, who have much tougher paths to targets. So I'll take that value all the live long day. But that's it. There you have it. Those are 3 rookie running backs and 3 rookie wide receivers who should be expected to make an immediate impact in year one in 2025. And hey, there are bound to be a few other options that you guys like to deliver in year one. So let me know in the comments who your picks are for this season. And don't forget to like and subscribe while you're here. I'd greatly appreciate that. Otherwise, thank you all for watching. And until next time, peace out.